The morning after we found the hidden trust, my mother asked for oatmeal. Not Truth. Not Jonathan. Not the company that might partly belong to injured workers. Oatmeal. With cinnamon, she said. The hospital only has brown sugar. Then this is not a serious medical institution. She had a healing incision across her side, reduced kidney function, and a pathology report we still had not received. Yet her greatest complaint at 7 in the morning was breakfast. I stood beside her bed holding the plastic tray. You are allowed to be difficult after surgery. I was difficult before surgery. That is true. Dad sat in the chair near the window with the scanned trust document open on his phone. He had not slept. I could tell because he kept enlarging his own signature as if the shape might change before morning. Daniel P. Hart. Trustee 9. One of 13 original signers. One of the people who might have legally owned part of Cross Logistics before it became Cross Meridian. My mother noticed him staring. Put it away. Dad looked up. I need to understand it. You have read the same page for 6 hours. I signed it. Yes. I forgot what it meant. You did not forget. Dad's face tightened. Mom continued. You were afraid of what remembering would require. The words were not cruel. That made them harder. My father turned off the phone. The trust gives workers 51%. Possibly, I said. He looked toward me. You sound like an attorney. Cameron is becoming contagious. Does it or not? The page still needs full authentication. Corporate counsel will argue the trust applied only to the original Cross Logistics entity, not the later holding company. Michael said it covered the company. Michael was not the court. Dad looked toward the hospital hallway. He believed workers owned it. Belief matters. It does not pay wages. No, he had begun thinking like a trustee, not a victim. That frightened him more. The hidden page did not simply promise money. It promised responsibility. If the trust was valid, injured workers and their descendants would hold the controlling interest in a company with hospitals, warehouses, energy projects, media holdings, software systems, debt, lawsuits, and more than 90,000 employees. People online were already calling it a victory. Dad knew better. Ownership was not a check delivered to our kitchen. It was payroll, pensions, environmental liabilities, patient care, decisions capable of harming people we would never meet. He had spent 15 years criticizing Jonathan for making choices from above. Now the document threatened to place him at the table. I do not want to run a corporation, Dad said. Mom looked at him. Good. He frowned. Good. The people who want power most should rarely receive it. That is not comforting. It was not meant to be. A nurse entered to check Mom's incision. Dad stood and moved toward the door. The nurse stopped him. You can stay if Mrs. Hart permits. Mom nodded. For years, medical staff had asked family members to step out without explaining why. Now every action came with a question. Consent had become visible. The nurse removed the dressing carefully. The incision looked clean. No new bleeding. No fever. The surgeon expected Mom to go home within 2 days if her kidney function remained stable. The pathology report would arrive before discharge. Maybe. Hospitals measured time differently when families waited. After the nurse left, my secure phone vibrated. Dana Brooks. Emergency Trust Conference at 11. Federal Court Annex. Attendance requested for Daniel Hart and Evelyn Hart. Dad saw my face. What? They need us at 11. I am staying here. Mom lifted the spoon toward her oatmeal. No, he looked at her. No. You are going. My wife had cancer surgery. Your wife is eating institutional paste. I am not leaving you. Mom set the spoon down. For most of their marriage, Dad had protected her through stubbornness. It looked romantic from far away. Close up, it often meant he made choices for both of them. You are not deciding for me, she said. I am deciding for myself. Then say you are afraid. Dad became quiet. Mom waited. He looked at her incision. I am afraid. Of me dying? Yes. Of the trust? Yes. Of people expecting you to lead? Yes. The third admission cost him most. Mom. Reached for his hand. Then go afraid. He looked toward me. You will be there? Yes. He nodded. Not because my presence made him capable. Because shared responsibility made fear less isolating. At 10:12, Cameron arrived to drive us. He entered Mom's room, carrying a paper bag. Cinnamon oatmeal, he said. My mother looked at him with more affection than she had shown anyone all morning. You are my favorite lawyer. I am the only lawyer who brought breakfast. Success is about understanding the market. Dad stared at the bag. You stopped for food while we have a court conference? Cameron handed Mom the container. I stopped because she asked me yesterday. She had planned ahead. Of course. Hannah arrived moments later to stay with Mom. Ryan had taken Lily to school under federal protection. The inheritance investigation had changed routine, but not removed it. A 6-year-old still needed lunch, homework, a ride. The ordinary world demanded attention even while ownership of a billion-dollar company sat inside an oilskin envelope. We left Mercy South at 10:27. Outside, reporters waited behind a temporary barrier. The Hart name had become financial news. One shouted, "Mr. Hart, are you now the majority owner of Cross Meridian?" Dad stopped. Cameron touched his arm. "You do not need to answer." Dad looked toward the reporter, then at the camera. "No." The reporter leaned forward. "The trust says workers own 51%. The trust says workers and patients may have rights that were hidden. Will you take control?" Dad's grip tightened around his cane. "It is not mine to take." He continued toward the car. The answer spread online before we reached the courthouse. Some called it humble. Some called it evasive. One financial commentator said an injured mechanic had no business influencing a multinational company. The same people who defended unqualified heirs suddenly discovered standards when workers approached the boardroom. At the court annex, security took our phones. No recording devices. No private entrances. The conference room contained a long table, fluorescent lights, and coffee that smelled worse than hospital coffee. Judge Warren sat near the center. Dana occupied one side with federal investigators. The restructuring committee occupied the other. Naomi represented the Calder Medical Trust. Marisol Vega and 2 other patient delegates sat beside her. Mrs. Delgado represented South Harbor. 3 Cross Meridian employee representatives attended. A hospital billing specialist named Teresa Cole, a logistics dispatcher named Malik Thompson, and a cybersecurity engineer named Priya Shah. Lila attended as a cooperating witness. Victoria joined through secure video. Michael Cross appeared on another screen. Samuel sat beside Gabriel near the end of the table. Jonathan was absent. His criminal case prevented his participation unless the court approved it. His name still filled the documents. Even without him, the room seemed organized around the space where his power used to be. Judge Warren opened the conference. The court has received a claim that the original South Shore Worker Relief Trust holds controlling beneficial ownership in Cross Logistics and successor entities. The restructuring attorney stood. "We dispute that characterization." "Of course you do," Mrs. Delgado said. The attorney ignored her. "The document has not been authenticated. Even if genuine, the trust refers to a predecessor company whose assets and ownership changed through multiple lawful transactions." Priya opened a folder. Transactions authorized by executives who concealed the trust. The attorney looked toward her. "That is an allegation. It is in the red ledger. The ledger is evidence in a separate criminal matter." Judge Warren lifted one hand. "This will not become oral combat." Mr. Robinson would have been disappointed. The judge continued. "Forensic analysis has produced preliminary findings." A document appeared on the screen. The paper dated to the correct period. The ink used in the signatures matched 14 years ago. The oilskin envelope carried fibers from the old Union Hall. The signatures of Michael Cross, Thomas Brennan, Samuel Ortega, and Daniel Hart matched authenticated samples. Jonathan's signature also appeared authentic. The attorney stood. Mr. Cross suffered acknowledged memory impairment and could not provide informed consent. Dad looked toward Michael's screen. The note beside Jonathan's signature said, "Informed in part. Memory unreliable." The line protected Jonathan morally. It weakened the trust legally. Did he understand the document? Judge Warren asked Michael. Michael's image flickered. His voice remained weak. He understood that workers would own the majority. Did he understand the source of the capital? Some of it. Did he understand Calder? No. Did he understand the trust included patients? Not fully. The restructuring attorney leaned forward. Then the signature cannot support transfer of a modern corporation. Michael looked toward him. The corporation used the money. That does not resolve legal succession. No, Michael's expression hardened. But it resolves the lie. The court could determine legal effect later. The historical truth already existed. Cross Logistics had not begun only with Jonathan's work, Michael's engineering, and a government contract. It began with funds belonging to injured workers and patients. Money intended for relief entered a company. The company turned that money into assets. The assets became an empire. Then the empire called restitution generosity. Judge Warren looked toward Dad. Mr. Hart, did you understand the trust when you signed it? Yes. His answer came clearly. What did you believe you were approving? Temporary use of worker relief funds in exchange for majority ownership held for injured workers and their families. Did anyone pressure you? No. Did you receive independent legal advice? Thomas Brennan explained it. Was he an attorney? No, then no. Dad accepted the correction. Judge Warren continued. Why was the trust not enforced? Marcus said it failed legal review. Did you ask for documentation? No, why? Dad looked toward the employee representatives. Because my wife had survived. My children were home. I wanted the danger to stop. The room became quiet. And later, the judge asked. Thomas told me the page was safe. 8 years ago. Yes. Why did you not disclose it? I was afraid. Of retaliation? Yes. Anything else? Dad looked toward the company restructuring committee. Of being responsible. The admission surprised them. He continued. If the trust was real, I was not only someone the company hurt. I was someone who had failed people by remaining silent. Marisol watched him carefully. That is true, she said. Cameron shifted beside Dad. Judge Warren did not stop her. Marisol continued. My medical records were inside the company your trust may have owned. Dad faced her. Yes. You did not know me. No, you did not know Calder continued. No, but you knew Marcus lied. Yes. And you kept the page. Yes. No defense. No demand that suffering erase responsibility. Marisol nodded. Good. Dad looked confused. Good. You answered. Accountability began before forgiveness. Sometimes it ended without it. Judge Warren turned toward the central question. Even if the trust is authentic, its beneficiaries do not form a legally operational governing body. The restructuring attorney nodded. Exactly. Mrs. Delgado opened her folder. Then create one. The attorney almost smiled. You cannot create a controlling shareholder council during a preliminary conference. Why not? Corporate law. Was corporate law present when they took the money? The room went quiet again. Cameron placed a proposed interim structure on the table. He had worked through the night with labor lawyers, patient advocates, and trust specialists. The plan did not assume final legal ownership. It created a provisional claimant council with limited veto authority while the court reviewed the trust. No asset sales without approval. No mass layoffs. No destruction of records. No transfer of hospital data. No settlement of Calder claims without patient consent. The restructuring committee objected. The employee representatives supported it. The patient delegates demanded stronger protection. Mrs. Delgado wanted the South Shore land transfer excluded from any corporate bargaining. Judge Warren listened, then asked the question no one wanted. Who sits on this council? Every eye moved toward Dad. He looked physically ill. I do not want the chair. No one offered it, Marisol said. Dad almost smiled. Judge Warren reviewed the trust language. 13 original signers. Workers. 1 cross representative. 1 patient protection clause. The living original trustees were Michael Cross, Daniel Hart, Samuel Ortega. 2 others had died. 3 could not be located. The remaining signers had heirs. Some heirs did not know the trust existed. The trust's activation language required a living worker trustee and the cross signatory to confirm the claim after public fall of cross control. Daniel, Jonathan, both had to sign again. The room changed. Dad looked toward the document. I have to sign. You do not have to do anything, Judge Warren said. The distinction mattered. If you decline, the court may still evaluate the trust. But the activation condition would remain contested. And Jonathan? He must confirm voluntarily. The restructuring attorney stood. Mr. Cross is under indictment. Any signature may be influenced by criminal pressure. Dana replied. The government will make no promise or threat concerning the trust. The same condition as the restitution agreement. No immunity. No reward. No guarantee. Dad looked toward Michael. Why did you write it that way? Michael's face carried regret. Because I believe the company should require agreement between labor and capital. You mean between me and your son? Yes. You placed it on 2 men who did not know the whole truth. Yes. The old generation had built another system around private trust. Even the worker document carried paternal control. Michael believed he could design justice into a clause, then disappeared before teaching anyone how to use it. What happens if we sign? Dad asked. Judge Warren answered. The trust claim gains provisional activation. The court may grant interim recognition pending litigation. Do workers receive money? Not immediately. Do employees keep jobs? Not guaranteed. Do patients control medical data? That remains under the separate restitution agreement. Then what does the signature do? It changes who must consent to major corporate decisions. A seat at the table. Not everything. Not safety. Authority to say no. Dad looked toward the employee representatives. Teresa. Cole had worked in hospital billing for 19 years. She spoke quietly. People think Cross Meridian is one man. She looked toward Jonathan's empty chair. It is also my department. My pension. My daughter's health insurance. Malik added. If the company collapses, Marcus and Catherine do not lose first. Drivers do. Priya looked toward Dad. We need records. Time. Independent control over systems that are still operating. Dad rubbed one hand over his face. I repair engines. Malik nodded. I dispatch trucks. Teresa said. I correct insurance codes. Priya said. I maintain network access. Marisol looked at them. I was tied to a hospital bed. Mrs. Delgado lifted her husband's photograph. I make tamales for church fundraisers. Then she looked around the table. Maybe expertise is not the same as permission. The people already at the top had expertise. Lawyers, doctors, executives, engineers. Calder still happened. The interim council would need specialists. It did not need to belong to them. Judge Warren scheduled a signature conference for the following morning. Dad would decide overnight. Jonathan would be asked through counsel. No one could pressure either man. The meeting ended without an answer. That afternoon, my mother received her final pathology report. The surgeon entered at 3:17. I knew the result was good before he spoke. Not because he smiled. Because he sat without bringing an oncology nurse. The surgical margins are clear, he said. Mom stared at him. What does that mean? We removed the visible tumor with a surrounding margin that tested negative for cancer cells. Stage 1 based on current findings. Additional treatment? Surveillance imaging. Kidney function monitoring. No chemotherapy or radiation indicated at this time. At this time, no promise. Still, relief entered the room like air. Hannah began crying immediately. Ryan turned toward the window and wiped his face before anyone could see. Dad sat beside Mom and lowered his head into their joined hands. I remained still. The body sometimes resisted relief after holding fear too long. Mom looked toward me. Evie, I heard. You look upset. I am not. You are. I do not know what to do with good news. She held out one hand. I took it. Then I cried. Not quietly. Not gracefully. Every delayed scan. Every hospital bill. Every phone call. Every fear that the algorithm had stolen too much time. The cancer was real. The delay was wrong. But the surgeon believed it had not spread. The room did not become a celebration. Mom still hurt. Recovery remained. Scans would continue. Fear would return before each result. But she was alive. The tumor was out. The future reopened. After the doctor left, Mom looked toward Dad. You have to decide about the trust. He stared. You just received a cancer result. Yes. And you are discussing the company. I am discussing your fear. That is less romantic. I married you. I am allowed. Dad looked toward the pathology report. I want to stay home with you. Good. Then I should refuse. No, his face tightened. Mom continued. You are confusing leadership with absence. What? You think accepting responsibility means leaving us. It may require meetings, hearings, travel. Then we decide together. You need care. So do thousands of employees and patients. You are my wife, and not your cage. The words were gentle. She had heard Catherine's language, understood what love could become when it turned another person's vulnerability into a reason to avoid choice. I do not want power, Dad said. Then sign only if the structure limits you. What limits? Term. Transparency. Other representatives. Removal vote. He looked toward me. You agree? I think no one should hold the seat permanently. Including workers? Including everyone. Power did not become safe because different hands held it. Dad nodded slowly. I will sign if the council has no permanent chair. Mom added. And if patient representatives have equal access to records. And employees, I said. And South Harbor, Hannah added. Ryan stood near the door. And someone who understands when people are lying. Everyone looked at him. What, he said. I have skills. Mom closed her eyes. Not you. For the first time in years, laughter filled a hospital room without fear beneath it. At 5:40, Cameron sent the proposed conditions to the court. Term limits, public minutes, independent financial advice, patient data protections, employee payroll priority, community land separation, conflict disclosures, no cross-family veto. Dad would accept only if those terms entered the provisional order. Judge Warren approved most. The restructuring committee objected. The judge overruled them. At 7:15, Jonathan agreed to attend the signature conference. No message, no condition. Only, I will appear and answer the court's questions. My no-contact boundary remained. We would be in the same room. We would not speak privately. I told myself that was enough. That night, Mom slept for 4 hours without waking. Dad stayed beside her. I went home for the first time since the surgery. The Hart house had passed every safety inspection. The underground manifold remained sealed under federal control. A steel plate covered the opening in the garage floor. Evidence tape crossed Dad's workbench where the union sign had been hidden. The kitchen felt both familiar and altered. The same yellow light, the same table, the same doorway. But every object now contained a second story. Mortgage adjustments kept us here. Calder watched us here. Michael warned Dad here. Jonathan once sat here. Lily's drawings remained attached to the refrigerator. One showed the bird family carrying food beneath a purple sun. The sky is not only for one bird. I stood in front of it for a long time. My secure phone could not receive messages from Jonathan. The silence still occupied space. I wondered whether he had learned to cook inside the monitored apartment. Whether he slept. Whether he replayed the film from room C7. Whether he remembered my 9-year-old voice telling him not to forget his name. Those questions did not belong to me right now. That was the boundary. I went upstairs. My childhood room had become storage after college. Boxes of books, old clothes, scholarship letters, school records. The purple backpack from the footage sat inside the closet. My mother kept everything. The fabric had faded. One strap was repaired with black thread. I opened the front pocket. Pencils. A library card. A small plastic horse. Then my fingers touched paper. Folded 4 times. Old. I sat on the floor. The paper contained a child's handwriting. My handwriting. Names. Margaret Danielle Hannah Ryan Evelyn Jonathan beneath them. The man with gray eyes said he will find me when he remembers. My breath stopped. I had carried the note home from Calder. Hidden inside the backpack. For 15 years, it remained in the closet. No one found it because no one knew to look. On the back was another line. Not mine. Jonathan's handwriting. If I do not remember you, tell me I promised to open the door. The promise existed before the elevator, before the company, before the adult deception. At 34, he had written to a child. At 49, he failed to tell the woman she became. Both men were real. I folded the paper carefully, then called Dana. Federal evidence officers arrived within 40 minutes. They photographed the note, bagged it, asked where I found it, asked whether anyone else touched it. I answered. The note would join the criminal case. Even memory became evidence. Before leaving, Dana stood in the kitchen. You do not need to attend tomorrow. Yes, I do. Why? My father is signing. That is not the only reason. No, she waited. I looked toward the garage. I need to see whether Jonathan signs when the company may not be his. You already saw him sign away control. This is different. How? The restitution agreement could be understood as his gift. I looked toward the evidence bag. The worker trust proves it was never entirely his to give. Dana considered that. You want to know whether he can accept being wrong about the foundation? Yes. The following morning, the signature conference took place in a federal courtroom. No cameras inside. Public transcript. Jonathan arrived under electronic monitoring. The small black device at his ankle was visible when he sat. The man who once moved through private elevators now needed court approval to cross city blocks. Dad sat across the aisle beside Cameron. Mom watched remotely from Mercy South. Employee and patient representatives filled the gallery. Michael and Samuel appeared by video. Judge Warren reviewed the conditions one by one. No permanent chair. 2-year trustee terms. Independent elections. Equal document access. No family veto. No sale of patient data. No layoffs above a defined threshold without counsel review. No executive bonuses during payroll instability. South Shore land held outside company restructuring. Opened books to the court. Dad affirmed he understood. Then Judge Warren asked, Mr. Hart, has anyone threatened you, promised you personal payment, or conditioned your wife's medical care on this signature? No. Do you understand you may refuse? Yes. Do you understand the legal outcome remains uncertain even if you sign? Yes. Why are you signing? Dad looked toward the gallery. Not at me. Not at Jonathan. At 14 years ago, I thought a signature would create justice without requiring me to speak. He placed one hand near the page. It did not. His voice shook. I am signing now because the people affected will see the document, control the process, and remove me if I fail them. Judge Warren nodded. The clerk handed him a plain black pen. Dad signed. Daniel P. Hart. The same angular letters. The same downward final line. Different conditions. Different meaning. Then Jonathan approached. The courtroom changed when he stood. Not because he controlled it. Because everyone remembered when he did. Judge Warren asked, Mr. Cross, do you understand that confirming this trust may reduce or eliminate your residual beneficial ownership? Yes. Do you understand the document may be used in civil and criminal proceedings? Yes. Has the government promised leniency? No. Have trust representatives promised you a role? No. Do you believe the original trust is authentic? Yes. Do you remember signing it? Jonathan looked toward Michael's screen, then at the document. I remember my father explaining that worker funds helped save Cross Logistics. Do you remember the 51% term? Partly. Explain. I remember objecting. The room became quiet. Michael lowered his eyes. Jonathan continued. I believed I built the company. Did you? Yes. The answer was not arrogant. It was factual. He had built it. He had also not built it alone. I believed workers had been repaid through settlements, he said. My father told me the settlements did not represent full value. What did you say? That ownership should follow risk. Judge Warren asked, whose risk? Jonathan looked toward Dad. At the time, I meant mine. No defense. I had borrowed money, guaranteed contracts, worked without salary. And the workers? I treated injury as a resolved liability. Dad's jaw tightened. Jonathan saw. I was wrong. Judge Warren continued. Why did you sign 14 years ago? My father showed me enough records to prove relief funds had entered the company. Did you understand Calder was involved? No. Did you understand workers might own the majority? Yes. My breath stopped. Not partially. Not vaguely. Yes. Then why did you operate as controlling owner afterward? I was told the trust failed. By whom? Marcus Vail and outside counsel. Did you verify? No, why? Jonathan looked toward the company attorneys. Because I wanted the answer. The sentence settled heavily. Not memory loss. Not manipulation alone. He wanted to believe the trust failed. He wanted the company. Power had offered a convenient legal conclusion. He accepted it. Did your memory impairment affect the decision? The judge asked. Possibly. Is that your defense? No, he looked toward Dad. I remembered enough to ask. I chose not to continue asking. Willful blindness. The criminal charge. The moral center. Jonathan could no longer claim total ignorance. He had not known Calder's full horror. He had known workers might hold ownership, then accepted Marcus's answer because it preserved his control. Judge Warren asked, why confirm the trust now? Jonathan looked toward the hidden page copy. Because the company used capital that did not belong only to my family. Anything else? Yes. He glanced toward the public gallery. At patients. Employees. South Harbor residents. I spent years believing ownership proved I was responsible for everyone beneath me. His voice remained steady. It mostly proved I could prevent them from overruling me. He picked up the pen. The clerk stopped him. One final question. Jonathan waited. Do you sign voluntarily? Yes. Knowing this does not guarantee forgiveness, acquittal, employment, or personal contact with any witness. The wording included me without naming me. Jonathan did not look toward my seat. Yes. He signed. Jonathan David Cross. The court accepted the confirmation. The worker trust activated provisionally. 51% beneficial control moved into court-supervised worker and patient custody while litigation continued. The room did not cheer. People exhaled. Power had changed hands on paper. The difficult part would come afterward. Meetings, budgets, conflicts, mistakes. Democracy was less cinematic than rescue. It was also harder to erase. After the conference, Jonathan remained near the witness table while his attorney reviewed release instructions. My boundary prohibited direct contact. I stood near the aisle with Cameron. Jonathan looked toward me. Only once. He saw the evidence copy of the childhood note inside Dana's folder. His face changed. He knew it had been found. He placed one hand against the table, then stepped away. No attempt to ask what I felt. No appeal to the promise he wrote at 34. He left through the public corridor under federal supervision. The man without the tower had signed away the final argument that the company belonged to him. That afternoon, Cross Meridian employees received notice of the Provisional Council. Payroll remained protected. Hospitals continued operating. Major layoffs paused. Executive bonuses froze. The stock moved wildly. Financial reporters called the structure unprecedented. Workers called it confusing. Patients called it late. All of them were right. Dad was named one of 3 temporary worker trustees. He tried to refuse. Mom called from the hospital. Term limit. He looked toward her on the screen. 2 years. Removal vote. Yes. Then do the work. He accepted. Not as chairman. 1 seat. 1 vote. Samuel became a patient history advisor but refused financial authority. Marisol joined the medical data committee. Teresa Cole joined payroll oversight. Priya led the access review. Malik joined logistics continuity. Mrs. Delgado accepted a seat on the land transfer council. No one asked me to join the corporate board. Good. I accepted a paid role with the independent public review. My task was narrow. Audit relocation and medical denial models. Publish methods. Train community reviewers. No executive authority. No secret access. No report passing through one powerful person. That evening, Mom walked 20 steps down the hospital corridor. Dad followed with the 4-pole. She stopped after 10. You are too close. You may fall. I may also turn around and hit you with this pole. He moved back. She continued. Receiving care had not made her less herself. At the end of the hallway, she sat in a wheelchair. The effort exhausted her. She looked toward me. Did he sign? Yes. Did he admit knowing? Yes. How much? Enough to hurt. Mom nodded. Truth usually arrives at the depth of the wound. I sat beside her. He knew the worker trust might be valid and wanted the company. Yes. Do you hate him? No. Do you excuse him? No. Good. I do not feel good. That was not the promise. She reached for my hand. Will you see him again? My boundary remains. Because you need space? Yes. Or because punishing him feels safer than deciding? I looked at her. You had major surgery. You should be less perceptive. I am conserving other organs. I stared through the hospital window. The tower stood far north. Both, I admitted. Mom nodded. Then wait until only one is true. 2 days later, she came home. The neighborhood had prepared food. Too much food. Soup. Casseroles. Bread. A cake shaped like a kidney that no one could explain. Mr. Robinson claimed it was educational. Mom refused the downstairs bed Dad had rented, then accepted it after discovering the stairs hurt more than pride helped. Lily placed the bird drawing beside the bed. Senator the cat slept beneath the dining table as if he owned the house. His original owner remained in rehabilitation and had agreed to let us keep him temporarily. Ryan said the cat understood squatters' rights. For the first time since the wrong elevator, an entire day passed without an immediate crisis. No countdown. No kidnapping. No secret facility opening beneath us. The silence felt suspicious. That evening, I sat on the porch. Cold air moved through South Deering. The industrial lights near the river glowed beyond the houses. A black sedan approached slowly. My body tensed. Then I saw the federal government plate. The car stopped across the street. Dana stepped out. Alone. She carried a thin folder. What happened? I asked. Your family is safe. That is not what people say before good news. No. She sat beside me on the porch step. I have an update on Jonathan's case. My chest tightened. What? Martin Keller entered a cooperation agreement. What did he say? He confirmed Marcus attached your identity to Jonathan's General Protected Candidate authorization. So Jonathan did not order my placement. Not by name. Relief entered. Dana continued before it settled. Martin also confirmed Jonathan opened the altered heart agreement on October 14th. We know. He says Jonathan contacted Marcus afterward. Why? To ask whether you were Daniel Hart's daughter. What did Marcus say? Yes. I looked toward the street. Jonathan already admitted knowing. Yes. What is new? Martin recorded part of the call. Dana opened the folder. The transcript carried Jonathan's voice. 3 days before the elevator. Jonathan, why is Daniel Hart's daughter inside my company? Marcus, because you asked for protected compliance candidates. Jonathan, I did not ask for this family. Marcus, then terminate her. Jonathan, no. Marcus, why? A pause. Jonathan, I want to see what she finds. The words were familiar. Painful. Already admitted. Then the recording continued. Marcus, you remember her. Jonathan, from where? Marcus, you tell me. Jonathan, the hospital. Silence. Marcus, which hospital? Jonathan, I do not know. Marcus, then you remember nothing useful. Jonathan, I remember purple. The recording ended. Jonathan had recovered part of the childhood memory before the elevator. Purple. Not my face. Not the full event. But something. He knew the hospital connection, I said. He suspected it. He did not tell me. No, that is not new. No, Dana looked toward the Hart house. The recording supports his explanation. He did not order your original placement. He did recognize the family and choose to observe. Then why are you here? She opened the second page. Because Martin provided another recording, dated 10 years earlier, 5 years after Calder erased our first encounter. Jonathan was 39. The recording came from a private Vail biomedical clinic. A doctor spoke. Elias Voss. Memory integration has reached 62%. Jonathan's voice answered. Will it continue? Yes. What will I remember? South Shore. Calder. The child. My hands became cold. Jonathan knew 10 years ago. Not everything. Enough to seek treatment. Voss continued. Reintegration may destabilize executive function. Jonathan, meaning? Voss, sleep disruption. Emotional volatility. Loss of focus. Jonathan, and suppression? Voss, restores prior stability. A long silence. Then Jonathan asked, will I know what I chose? Voss, no, Jonathan. Will the people involved remain protected? Voss, Marcus will preserve treatment and confidentiality. Another silence. Then Jonathan said, do it. My breathing stopped. 10 years ago, Jonathan voluntarily chose memory suppression again. Not during the crash. Not under immediate physical force. He recovered part of Calder. Then chose to forget. What happened afterward? I asked. Dana's voice remained careful. The clinic administered a second protocol. Did he know about the patients? We do not know how much he remembered before the treatment. He knew South Shore. Calder. A child. Yes. Me. Possibly not your name. He chose the company. Possibly. The word felt too gentle. He chose stability. Yes. He chose not to know. Yes. The willful blindness charge changed. Not only signatures he failed to investigate. A deliberate medical erasure. A man asking to remove truth because truth threatened the life he had built. The man without the tower had admitted wanting convenient answers. This was more than convenience. This was an act. A choice to become ignorant. Does Jonathan remember the second procedure? I asked. No, of course. The medical record confirms the compound. Will he be charged for it? Choosing treatment is not itself a crime. But what he avoided may affect intent. Yes. I looked toward the house. My mother lay inside recovering. My father had signed the trust again. Lily completed homework at the kitchen table. Life continued a few feet away while another version of Jonathan collapsed inside me. At 34, he tried to save me. At 39, he chose to forget. At 49, he recognized my name and tested me. Then he changed. How many versions of one person could exist before love became loyalty to only the one I preferred? Does he know about the recording? I asked. His counsel received it this afternoon. What did he say? He requested access to the full clinic file. Anything else? He asked whether you had heard it. I looked at Dana. What did you tell him? That I had not yet informed you. Did he send a message? He is prohibited. That was not my question. Dana understood. He said he would not ask me to carry one. That restraint again. It no longer felt sufficient. Why did Martin keep the recording? Leverage. Did Marcus know? Yes. Then Marcus knew Jonathan chose suppression. Yes. And stayed beside him for 10 years. Yes. The perfect partner. The keeper. Marcus did not need to erase Jonathan every time. He only needed to offer relief when memory became expensive. The price of silence had been paid repeatedly. At 8:12, Dana left. I remained on the porch until my hands went numb from cold. My mother opened the door behind me. You will get sick. That is not how cold works. It is how mothers work. She wore the green cardigan over her pajamas. She sat beside me carefully. I told her about the recording. She listened. No interruption. No easy answer. When I finished, she asked, "What do you feel?" Betrayed by something he did before he knew me as an adult. He knew you as a child. Yes. Did he remember your name? Unknown. Did he remember the program? Partly. And chose not to. Yes. Mom looked toward the industrial lights. Why? To protect his function. His company. Maybe his mother. Does the reason matter? Yes. Does it excuse him? No, the pattern. Again. Explanation without absolution. I do not know who he would have become if he remembered, I said. No one does. He might have stopped Calder 10 years earlier. Yes. People might not have been harmed. Yes. My mother's scan, do not. Her voice sharpened. Do not turn every branch of history into a weapon against one decision. But his company's system denied it. Yes. He chose not to know what the company was built on. Yes. Then the denial belongs partly to that choice. Mom considered it. Partly. The word mattered. Not entirely. Systems had thousands of hands. But the hand at the top chose ignorance when truth knocked. What do I do? I asked. Nothing tonight. I hate that answer. I know. I need to decide whether to speak to him. No, you think I should not. I think your next decision should not come from the first wave of pain. She stood slowly. Come inside. I remained seated. Mom. Yes. Can someone change after choosing not to know? She looked at me. Yes. How do you know? Because your father did. Inside, Dad sat at the kitchen table reading employee payroll reports. The man who once hid the trust now spent his evening learning how hospital technicians would be paid if a credit line failed. Change did not remove the years before it. It created responsibility for the years after. I went inside. That night, I did not sleep. At 3:06 in the morning, I wrote one question in the secure family log. Does a person remain accountable for the truth he asked to forget? At 3:08, I wrote the answer. Yes. Then another question. Can I care about the man he became without forgiving the man who chose forgetting? No answer came. At 7:30 the next morning, Jonathan appeared before Judge Warren for a status conference. The government disclosed the second suppression recording. His attorney requested time. Jonathan declined to delay his response. He spoke under oath. I hear my voice. Do you remember the conversation? Judge Warren asked. No. Do you dispute that it occurred? No. Do you dispute choosing the procedure? No. Do you believe your choice was voluntary? Jonathan looked toward Elias Voss's clinic record. I was told my mother's treatment and company stability depended on continued confidentiality. Was that coercion? Yes. Did you still make a choice? Yes. Why? I was afraid of losing the life I had built. Did you understand people might remain harmed? I do not know what I understood. Then what can you say with certainty? Jonathan's face became still. That I chose not to find out. The courtroom became silent. No memory defense. No claim that coercion erased agency. Judge Warren asked, what do you believe should happen now? That is not my decision. What do you want? Jonathan looked toward the public gallery. I was not there. My boundary remained. I want to remember. The words carried no demand that memory save him legally. What if it makes your defense worse? The judge asked. Then it makes the record more accurate. Naomi and Dr. Park would supervise any recovery attempt. No hypnosis. No forced exposure. No promise that memory returned cleanly. Jonathan requested the procedure voluntarily. Not suppression. Integration. The opposite choice. At 10:14, his criminal counsel notified the court that recovered memory could lead him to amend his plea. The possibility spread through the news. Jonathan Cross considering cooperation. Possible guilty plea. Former billionaire may testify against remaining Calder network. The man without the tower no longer fought only to preserve himself. But I had learned not to confuse suffering with redemption. The choice mattered. The outcome did not belong to me. That afternoon, Mom's surgeon allowed her to walk to the porch. She sat beneath a blanket while neighbors passed food through the gate. Dad returned from his first provisional council meeting carrying 3 binders. He looked exhausted. How was power? Mom asked. Mostly spreadsheets. I smiled. He set the binders on the table. Cross Meridian has a liquidity problem. That sounds serious, I said. It means they own buildings and cannot pay enough immediate bills. Welcome to South Deering, Mom replied. Dad ignored her. Jonathan's payroll assignment bought time. The council needs to decide whether to sell the media division or borrow against renewable assets. What do you think? I think I do not know enough. Good. He looked offended. I continued. Ask people who do. The financial advisors disagree. Then publish both assumptions. He stared at me. You should be on the council. No, why? Because you want me there. That is usually how appointments work. I audit the models. I should not vote on the outcome. The boundary mattered. Independent review could not become another route into control. Dad nodded reluctantly. We also found a private executive reserve. How much? $460 million. Where? Insurance structures and deferred acquisitions. Marcus. Created under Jonathan's office. My body tightened. Did Jonathan know? Council records say it was a continuity fund for market emergencies. Can it support payroll? Possibly. Use it. Shareholder council says restrictions apply. Ask the court. Dad smiled faintly. You enjoy saying that when you are not the one in court. The council petitioned. Judge Warren released part of the reserve for payroll and patient care continuity. Employees received another 2 months of protection. The company began changing not through one heroic act. Through motions, disclosures, votes, arguments, slow structures, harder to dramatize, harder to steal. 3 days later, Jonathan began memory integration treatment inside a federal medical facility. I did not attend. I did not receive updates. My no-contact boundary remained, and medical privacy belonged to him. The news learned only that he underwent evaluation. Online speculation became grotesque. Some claimed he was faking memory damage. Others called him a victim and ignored everyone harmed under his leadership. I refused interviews. My work continued. We audited medical denials. The same pattern appeared beyond kidney imaging, neurological scans, cardiac testing, rehabilitation services. The models delayed expensive care, most often for patients with unstable housing, inconsistent employment, and limited ability to appeal. Not because anyone programmed the words poor people, because the system used variables that meant the same thing. Data could discriminate without naming the category. We suspended 4 models. Hospitals reopened thousands of appeals. The first letters went out. Your request will be reconsidered. Not enough. A beginning. Mom recovered slowly. Some days, she walked to the kitchen. Other days, 10 steps exhausted her. She hated dependence. We made her ask. Not because we wanted control. Because naming needs prevented silent resentment. Hannah, help me shower. Ryan, carry the laundry. Daniel, stop watching me breathe. Evie, sit down and eat. Care became explicit. Chosen. Shared. One evening, 9 days after Jonathan began treatment, Dana came to the house again. This time, she brought no folder. He has completed the first stage, she said. Did he remember? Yes. My hands tightened. How much? Enough to amend his testimony. What did he remember about the second suppression? He remembered the choice. The words entered slowly. What else? He remembered why. My mother's treatment? Partly. The company? Yes. Me? Dana looked toward the house. Jonathan requested permission to disclose the memory directly under supervised conditions. My pulse changed. Does that violate the boundary? Only if you agree. What happens if I refuse? His testimony proceeds without the meeting. No punishment. No lost evidence. Refusal remained real. Why directly? He believes the memory concerns you in a way that should not arrive first through a public transcript. I thought of every private truth used to pressure me. Will it still enter the record? Yes. Then why not wait? That is your decision. Mom stood behind the screen door. She had heard enough. Dana left us with a consent form. No legal effect beyond the meeting. I could end the conversation at any time. Cameron could attend. Lila could attend. A clinician would be present. No physical contact. No request for forgiveness. No discussion of future relationship unless I initiated it. The conditions looked almost severe. They needed to be. Mom sat at the kitchen table. Do you want to hear him? Yes. Do you want to see him? The answer took longer. Yes. Then go. You are not worried? Yes. What if the memory manipulates me? Oh. Information influences. She looked toward the consent form. The difference is you know why you are entering the room. I signed. Not because Jonathan needed it. Because I understood. 2 days later, I entered a federal medical conference room. Transparent walls. 2 doors. One beside me. One behind Jonathan. Cameron sat to my left. Dr. Park sat near the recording equipment. Dana observed. Jonathan entered under supervision. I had not seen him since the Worker Trust conference. He looked thinner. His hair had grown slightly longer. The electronic monitor remained at his ankle. No suit. Dark pants. Gray sweater. The man without the tower. He stopped when he saw me. Evelyn. This time, I answered. Jonathan. The name changed the air. Not reconciliation. Access. Limited. Chosen. He sat across from me. Dr. Park stated the terms. Jonathan nodded. I did too. The recording began. He placed both hands on the table. I remember the clinic 10 years ago. Tell me. His voice remained steady. I had begun waking from dreams about white tile. The room. Yes. I remembered your backpack before your face. Purple. Yes. What else? My mother's name. Marcus holding a syringe. My father shouting about the ledger. He looked down. I believe the memories might be false. Because Voss told you? Yes. What did he say? That my concussion and stress had produced confabulation. Did you believe him? I wanted to. The same phrase. What happened? I spent 6 months investigating privately. My pulse changed. You investigated Calder 10 years ago? Yes. What did you find? Payments. Clinic records. South Shore accounts. The Worker Trust. You knew the trust was valid. I knew it might be. Why did you stop? His face tightened. I found my mother. The room became quiet. Where? Calder East. You saw her? Yes. Conscious? Yes. What did she say? Jonathan closed his eyes briefly. She asked me to stop. The answer surprised me. Why? Marcus had tied her treatment to funding. He told us exposure would close the program. And the other patients? I asked. What did she say? That they would lose care too. The same cage. Protect the people. Inside the harmful system by preserving the system. What did you decide? That I would move the patients quietly. Did you? No, why? Marcus showed me evidence that several government agencies funded the program. He said any action would trigger transfer and destroy the records. You believed him? Yes. Then you chose suppression. Not immediately. He looked toward me. I found your file. My breathing stopped. 10 years ago. Yes. What was inside? School records. Medical observations. Scholarship projections. Did you know my name? Yes. The betrayal widened. You knew me for 10 years. I knew a file. Do not reduce it. You are right. He forced himself to continue. I knew Evelyn Rose Hart existed. I knew she had been inside room C7. I knew she was the child with the purple backpack. Did you contact my family? No, why? Marcus showed me surveillance photographs. The same tactic used on Dad. What photographs? You walking to school. Hannah at work. Ryan outside the garage. Lily had not been born. My stomach tightened. He threatened us. Yes. What did you do? I moved money into the protected educational reserve. My scholarship. Not only Calder observation. Jonathan had added funds. You paid for my education. I funded the reserve. I did not select the school or program. Why? Because I believed it was the only protection I could provide without revealing that I remembered. The old instinct. Protection through hidden control. You could have warned us. Yes. You could have gone to law enforcement. Yes. You could have trusted my father. Yes. You chose money. Yes. The word landed hard. I chose something I could control. His eyes held mine. Then I chose to forget why. I felt anger rise. You did not only choose not to know Calder. No, you chose to forget me. His face broke. Only slightly. But enough. Yes. The room became silent. Cameron did not move. Dr. Park watched both of us. Jonathan continued before I asked. I told myself forgetting protected you. Did it? No. It left Marcus beside you. Yes. It left my family watched. Yes. It allowed Calder to continue. Yes. You built the company larger. Yes. Why should I believe you care now? You should not because of what I say. The answer came without defense. I remembered enough at 39 to act. I chose relief instead. He looked toward his hands. At 49, you entered the elevator and made the same pattern visible again. You knew my name. Yes. You felt familiarity. Yes. And still tested me. Yes. Why did you not choose suppression again? He looked up. Because you were no longer a file. My throat tightened. That should not have been necessary. No, you were a person at 9. Yes. He did not ask me to accept the explanation. He continued. I am changing my plea. Cameron shifted. To what? I asked. Guilty to obstruction, false certification, and reckless facilitation. My chest tightened. Not conspiracy. My attorneys and the government dispute whether I knowingly joined Calder's criminal objectives. What do you believe? I enabled them. That was not my question. He took a breath. I do not remember agreeing to human experimentation. I do remember choosing not to expose it when I knew enough to continue asking. Willful blindness. A legal term. A moral act. What sentence? I asked. Unknown. Prison. Possible. How long? Unknown. The word belonged to him now. Why plead guilty? Because memory loss does not erase the choice I remember. I stared at him. Part of me wanted to say it was noble. It was not. It was necessary. Late. Costly. True. What did you want to tell me directly? I asked. He looked toward the recording device. Then at me. At 39, before the suppression, I wrote another letter. My body became still. To me? Yes. Where is it? I gave it to Lila. I turned toward Dana. She nodded. Recovered from Lila's off-network archive after his memory returned. What does it say? Jonathan did not ask to read it. It says I remembered you. You just told me. There is more. What? He looked as afraid as he had inside the joint interview. I wrote that if we met again, I should stay away from you. The word surprised me. Why? Because I had already chosen the company once. His voice lowered. I believed any future contact would turn you into another person I protected without consent. The insight existed 10 years ago, then disappeared with the treatment. You knew what you might become. Yes. And chose to become him anyway. Yes. The answer came without escape. I looked through the transparent wall. A federal hallway. No tower. No private elevator. A door beside me I could use at any moment. What do you want from me? I asked. Nothing. That cannot be true. He looked toward me. I want forgiveness. The honesty changed the room. I want you to believe the man sitting here is different from the man who chose forgetting. His hands tightened. I want the dinner. The future possibility. Your voice in rooms where I am about to choose badly. My heartbeat changed. But wanting those things does not create a right to ask for them now. He looked down. So I am not asking. I felt tears rise. Anger came with them. You keep making restraint look like love. His eyes returned to mine. Sometimes it is the only form I can offer safely. I stood. Not to leave yet. Because sitting felt too close. At 9, I stayed because I thought you would forget your name. Yes. At 24, I kept helping you remember what your company did. Yes. That cannot become my life. No. I cannot be the person who keeps you moral. No. I cannot be your evidence that you changed. No, his voice broke on the last word. I looked at the door, then back at him. I believe you changed. He stopped breathing. I also believe you chose not to know when knowing was dangerous. Yes. I do not forgive that. I understand. Do you? No, the answer was painfully honest. I understand the boundary. I do not understand what losing your trust will feel like over time. I looked at him. That is yours to carry. Yes. No guilt placed in my hands. No request that I comfort him. I moved toward the door. Evelyn. I stopped. The terms prohibited future discussion unless I initiated it. He had only my name left. I waited. He did not continue. Good. I opened the door. Then turned back. The dinner is canceled. His face remained still. I understand. Not postponed. The distinction hurt both of us. Understood. I may change my mind someday. Hope entered his eyes. I stopped it before it became pressure. I may not. Yes. I need my life to exist without waiting for your case, memory, or redemption. Yes. I opened the door again. This time, he spoke only to the record. I am sorry I chose forgetting. I left. Outside the room, my knees weakened. Cameron followed after the recording ended. He did not touch me. Do you want to sit? No. Do you want to leave? Yes. We walked through the federal hallway. No one stopped us. The door had opened. I had chosen it. That evening, Jonathan formally entered his plea agreement. He accepted criminal responsibility for obstruction, false certification, and reckless facilitation. He agreed to testify against Marcus, Catherine, Elias Voss, Peter Wexler, and other Calder participants. He waived appeals related to the agreed factual record. No immunity for undiscovered crimes. No promise regarding sentence beyond government recognition of cooperation. The hearing would occur in 2 days. The man who once controlled the city would stand before a judge and admit that he chose not to know. My mother sat at the kitchen table when I came home. She watched my face. The dinner. Canceled. Forever. I said possibly. Mom nodded. Does that feel right? No, that was not the question. I closed my eyes. Yes. She held out her hand. I sat beside her. Outside, South Deering moved through an ordinary evening. Cars. Dogs. A train in the distance. No sirens. No countdown. Dad worked through payroll forecasts in the garage. Hannah graded papers. Ryan argued with Senator over a chair. Lily drew a new building. Not a tower. A long house with many doors. I looked toward the city. Jonathan had lost his company. His title. His home. His freedom of movement. Now he would lose the version of himself built on not knowing. That was the final fall. Not handcuffs. Not stock prices. Not an empty penthouse. The moment he stopped asking ignorance to protect him. The next morning, Dana delivered the letter Jonathan wrote 10 years earlier. Plain paper. No company letterhead. Evelyn Rose Hart, I remember. You now. You were 9. You wrote your family's names because Catherine wanted to see whether fear erased attachment. It did not. You gave me the crayon because I could not remember my own name. I told you I would open the door. I failed. I found the door again today, but there are people behind it whose lives are tied to the machine locking it. I am afraid that opening it carelessly will kill them. I am more afraid that I am using them to excuse my fear. If I choose to forget this, then I will become dangerous to you. Do not let any future version of me call protection a reason to keep you uninformed. Do not let him make you responsible for returning his conscience. You already did enough at 9. Jonathan, I read the letter once. Then again. At the bottom, written later in different ink, was one final sentence. Lila, if I ask for suppression, do not obey me. My breath stopped. He had told Lila not to let him forget. Yet the procedure happened. Lila had said she was not at Calder then. But Jonathan entrusted the instruction to her. Had she received it? Did she ignore it? Or did someone remove it before she could act? The letter had come from Lila's off-network archive. She had possessed it. I called Dana. Did Lila know about the second suppression? Silence. Then, she is being interviewed now. The story changed again. Jonathan had chosen forgetting. But before that choice, he had asked someone he trusted to stop him. Lila Morgan had spent years guarding his doors, preserving access logs, protecting evidence, calling silence her greatest failure. If she received the letter before the procedure and did nothing, then Jonathan had not been the only person who chose the company over truth. The final secret did not belong to Marcus, or Catherine, or Michael. It belonged to the woman who had stood beside Jonathan through every room, carrying proof that he once asked to be saved from himself. And in 2 days, when Jonathan entered his guilty plea, Lila's answer could determine whether his fall ended in prison, or whether the last person he trusted had been controlling the door all along. Fan Katip Se La Tap Koi, Noi Lila Phi Kai Su That Ve Lon Zoa Kyuc Thursday. Hi, Jonathan and Fan Quiet Va Evelyn Quiet Din Ju Gi Con Lai Sao Kai Mwak and Qua Gwen Luke Duramo.